By now, you should have a pretty good understanding about images and containers. Now, let me make sure that you fully understand the Docker architecture and how things fit together. So the Docker architecture follows the client-server approach, where the client is the CLI that we've been using, and the server is the Docker host. So this is where we have Docker up and running. So you've seen that we installed Docker locally. And also we have registries. So this is where, for example, you've seen we can use public images or private images that we're going to learn later in this chapter. But basically, inside of the Docker host, we have something called Docker daemon. And the Docker daemon is responsible for handling requests from the client. So here, for example, you've seen Docker build, Docker run, Docker pull. Actually, you haven't seen Docker build. So you've seen Docker run and Docker pull. But the build command, this is where we learn about building custom images later in this course. But here you can see that we issue a command that is sent to the Docker daemon. And I'm going to explain more on the Docker daemon, and I'm going to show you exactly where you can find all of this. But let's say that we want to run a container. So when we run a container, if the container is not present on the host, then Docker daemon goes and fetches from the registry. So here, this is where we have, you saw Docker Hub has over 8 million images, right? So it goes, it fetches the images, and then it stores it on the host. You've seen that when we say Docker image ls, you see the list of all the images. So here, let's say that we have a Spring Boot image, for example, or a Postgres database image locally. And from it, we can run containers. So here, let's say that we want to run a container for the Spring Boot application, for example, and another one for the database. And later you'll see how we're going to use, for example, Docker Compose to have two containers where we have the front end and then the back end, where the database will be actually a MongoDB. But you'll see how everything works. But basically, in a nutshell, this is what is happening. I felt like teaching you first containers and images would make more sense, because now when you see this, you now understand exactly what's happening under the hood. Next, let me explain you more about the Docker daemon.